Welcome to today's deep dive. We're so glad you're joining us. We are jumping right into a tension that you've probably felt or at least read about recently.
Oh, absolutely. It's everywhere.
Right. Because on one hand, artificial intelligence is driving these massive, unprecedented productivity gains across the board. But on the other hand, it's rapidly displacing traditional stable careers at an alarming rate.
Yeah, it's this bizarre paradox, really.
Exactly. The economy is technically booming, but the ground is completely shifting under the feet of everyday workers.
It's a profound structural shift. And today we're looking at how to navigate what economists are calling the K-shaped economy. But we're not just going to talk about the disruption.
No.
Today is really about understanding the strategy for surviving it. Like, how does a displaced worker actually transition from being a vulnerable employee into an empowered economic owner?
And for this deep dive, we have a really fascinating stack of sources to guide us, specifically a press release and an accompanying white paper released today, March 9th, 2026, by EON AI Ventures. They're announcing a massive new framework called the Sovereign Human Initiative. So our mission today is twofold. First, we want to understand the actual math behind AI job displacement. And second, we want to break down EON AI's proposed blueprint for reclaiming your agency in a rapidly shifting labor market.
It's a critical mission. I mean, understanding the changing economy isn't an academic exercise anymore. It's a survival strategy. We need to look at the systemic math of what's happening to traditional employment and then analyze these proposed solutions without any, rose-colored glasses to see if the execution actually matches the ambition.
Okay, let's unpack this. The current professional landscape is being described as a K-shaped economy. For those who might not be familiar with that term, the K-shape basically means that after a major economic shock,
In this case, the rapid adoption of AI.
right, after that shock, the economy splits. One group shoots upward on the top arm of the K, seeing massive gains in efficiencies, while another group slides downward on the bottom arm, facing severe displacement. And the statistics we have today paint a pretty stark picture of that divide.
Let's look at the top arm of that K first. The deployment of AI is currently bringing an average productivity gain of 11.5% across the board.
Which is huge.
From a purely macroeconomic standpoint, it's a phenomenal leap in efficiency. Companies are doing more with significantly less friction. But that efficiency comes at a very real cost, which brings us to the downward arm of the K.
And this is where the numbers get incredibly real for everyday people. Up to 75% of job tasks in AI-exposed occupations are now covered by AI capabilities.
75%.
Yeah, we're talking about roles that historically felt very safe and secure: programmers, customer service reps, financial analysts. If 75% of your daily tasks can be done by an algorithm, your traditional job security is essentially gone.
What's particularly alarming is the downstream effect of this, specifically on the next generation of the workforce. We're already seeing an observed employment drop of 6% to 16% among young workers aged 22 to 25.
That is just brutal. I mean, you spend all this time and money getting a degree, and by the time you graduate, the entry-level jobs have been automated away.
Precisely. This drop is largely driven by hiring freezes in those AI-exposed occupations. Companies aren't necessarily initiating mass layoffs in every single sector today, but they're absolutely shutting the door on new entrants.
They're locking a whole generation out.
Exactly. Out of the traditional employment pipeline before they can even get their first real foot in the door, the ladder has basically been pulled up.
It isn't just the new grads who are hurting.
Mm-hmm.
The human cost for established professionals is staggering. We're looking at families facing sudden job losses or severe underemployment while still being burdened with middle to high fixed costs.
Yeah, those don't just vanish.
Right. Mortgages running between $3,000 to $5,000 a month don't just disappear because your company adopted a new algorithm. You've got fast-moving technology colliding with slow-moving debt. And it's a recipe for a structural crisis.
What's fascinating here is the underlying mathematical reality driving corporate behavior in this environment. There's a specific metric that explains this systemic shift perfectly. For every 10-point increase in a task's adaptability to AI, projected employment growth drops by 0.6 percentage points.
Let's pause on that, because that is a massive number when you scale it up.
It really is. When you compound a 0.6 percentage point drop across thousands of tasks and millions of jobs, you realize that the traditional employment infrastructure isn't just under pressure, it's fundamentally broken. The calculus for companies has completely changed.
Why hire 10 people when one can do it?
Right. Why would an enterprise hire 10 new junior analysts when a single senior analyst armed with the right AI tools can do the work of all 10?
The Klarna precedent is the perfect real-world example of that corporate calculus in action. Klarna managed to achieve a massive $20 billion valuation using AI, and while doing that, they cut their workforce from 7,000 employees down to 4,000.
Wow.
That's almost half their workforce gone, while the company's value skyrocketed.
It perfectly illustrates the wedge of the K-shaped economy. The company wins big on the upward arm, but the 3,000 workers who were let go hit the downward arm. And they're hitting a job market where every other company in their sector is also freezing hiring.
Which is terrifying.
It forces us to accept a harsh reality. Just retraining people for slightly different traditional jobs isn't going to fix this. If the total pool of traditional jobs is shrinking because AI can do the heavy lifting, then pushing people back into that shrinking pool is a losing strategy.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because this is where EON AI Ventures introduces their solution, the Sovereign Human Initiative. And this is the part of their strategy that completely flips traditional career advice on its head.
It really does.
They're arguing that this isn't about reskilling workers so they can go find another boss. It's about fundamentally shifting people from being dependent employees or students into becoming empowered proprietors and democratized knowledge creators.
The terminology is very deliberate. Proprietorship. They're advocating for a transition away from the legacy model where you rent out your labor to an employer.
Who can and will replace you with AI at any moment.
Exactly. Toward a model where you own your enterprise, you own your skills, and you leverage AI yourself to generate value. It's about securing economic autonomy.
I want to push back on that for a second, though.
Yeah.
Because shifting from an employee to a proprietor sounds incredibly empowering on paper. But doesn't that also just sound like the gig economy on steroids?
That's a fair point.
How is this different from just being an Uber driver for enterprise software? Because if everyone is just a freelancer hustling for contract work, that doesn't sound like stability.
That is a very fair skepticism. And it's exactly why EON AI isn't just telling people to go be freelancers. They built the Sovereign Human Initiative on 3 highly structured pillars to transition people into actual enterprise ownership, not just gig work. The first pillar is the Global Diploma Alliance, which is an AI-native learning platform.
Right, and the claim they make about this platform is wild. They say it can slash education expenses by an astonishing 90% to 99%. It sounds like magic. How do you actually cut the cost of an education by 99% without making the diploma completely worthless?
You do it by completely removing the legacy infrastructure. You eliminate the brick-and-mortar overhead, the administrative bloat, and the traditional lecture hall. Instead, you replace it with highly personalized AI-native tutors.
Okay, so it scales perfectly.
Yes. These AI systems adapt to the individual student's learning speed and style, bringing their time to competency down from 4 years to perhaps 4 months. If you're a displaced worker with a $4,000 a month mortgage, you cannot afford to take on massive student loan debt to go back to a university. You need verified, industry-relevant skills quickly and affordably.
But a cheap diploma doesn't pay that mortgage if no one is hiring. So once you have those skills, what's the next step? That brings us to pillar number 2, the venture builder economy.
Exactly. The venture builder economy is where the whole proprietor concept materializes. Instead of just handing you a certificate and wishing you luck on the job board, this framework is designed to empower individuals to create their own enterprises using EON's technology stack. They give you the foundational software and the operational architecture to build a business.
Which flows perfectly into the third pillar, the VAR network,
Right.
or value-added reseller network. Because let's be honest, not everyone is ready or willing to build a brand new enterprise completely from scratch. That carries a ton of risk.
A lot of risk, yes.
So the VAR network offers a structured, lower-risk pathway. Displaced workers can essentially become partners, reselling and deploying EON technologies to transform their local and regional markets.
To put that into a real-world perspective, let's say you were a mid-level marketing manager or an IT coordinator who was just displaced. Under the VAR network, you aren't trying to invent a new artificial intelligence from scratch in your garage.
Right.
Instead, you take EON's pre-built enterprise-grade AI and you walk into a local dental clinic or a regional law firm or a manufacturing plant in your town that has absolutely no idea how to implement these new technologies. You set up their automated systems, you manage their AI infrastructure, and you become the vital tech bridge for your local community. You are the proprietor of that local operation.
I love that. It makes it so much more concrete. You're taking all these high-level AI tools and becoming the local expert who deploys them. If we look at how these 3 pillars operate together, it's a comprehensive ecosystem. The Global Diploma Alliance tackles the affordability and transition problem.
Right.
And the Venture Builder and VAR network tackle the income instability problem by providing structured entry points into a new business model.
It addresses the core vulnerabilities of the K-shaped economy head-on. It moves someone from being a displaced worker waiting for a paycheck to an active participant and owner in the digital economy.
There is a quote directly from Dan Lajoskar, the chairman of EON AI Ventures, that perfectly summarizes their ambition here. He states, "The Sovereign Human Initiative represents a once-in-a-generation opportunity to transform displacement into empowerment. By providing the tools and frameworks to guide individuals through the shift from task dependency to economic proprietorship, we are building a sustainable future for everyone affected by the K-shaped economy."
The shift from task dependency to economic proprietorship, that really is the entire thesis. But as we said earlier, grand visions are great, but the underlying technology and execution have to actually support it. EON has to prove they can pull this off at scale.
So what does this all mean in terms of actual on-the-ground implementation? Because EON AI Ventures notes they aren't exactly a startup trying to figure this out on the fly. They have 25 years of experience in immersive learning and XR, which stands for extended reality solutions. But how are they practically tracking job displacement and ensuring they're training people for the right things?
They're relying on a very data-driven tool called the Anthropic Economic Index. And this is where the methodology gets really interesting. This index uses real-world Claude usage data to provide real-time insights into task displacement across more than 800 occupations.
Let's break that down because I think it's a crucial piece of the puzzle. For those who might not be deep in the tech space, Claude is a highly advanced enterprise-grade AI model. So EON isn't just sending out delayed surveys to the Bureau of Labor Statistics to see who lost their job last quarter.
Exactly. They're looking at the back-end API data. If they see Claude suddenly processing millions of financial audits or legal contract reviews a day, they know instantly that financial analysts and paralegals are being displaced. It acts as a real-time radar for job loss.
That is so smart.
If the economy is shifting month by month, you can't rely on a textbook printed 3 years ago. You need live data to ensure your training remains aligned with the actual impact AI is having on the ground at any given moment.
And that ties perfectly into their 25 years of XR experience. Extended reality isn't just about cool virtual reality headsets for gaming. If they see via the Anthropic Index that certain physical or technical jobs are shifting, their XR background means they have the spatial computing chops to train a technician or a mechanic virtually. They can simulate real-world tasks for training, rather than just having someone read a manual on a screen.
That immersive capability is a massive advantage for rapid reskilling. But there is another crucial distinction they make about the technology they're using to train and support these new proprietors. There's a vast difference between generic consumer AI tools and the enterprise-level platforms EON is deploying.
Right. A generic consumer AI tool generally delivers about 80% quality. If you're just using an AI to help you write a polite email to your boss or brainstorm some marketing copy, 80% accuracy is perfectly fine. You can tweak the rest yourself. But in high-stakes enterprise operations, 80% is a disaster. You need 100% precision.
You cannot have an AI hallucinating numbers in a corporate financial report, or making errors in a medical compliance document, or hallucinating safety protocols in a manufacturing plant. Precision is non-negotiable.
And to bridge that 20% gap between generic consumer tools and actual enterprise needs, EON AI Ventures operates two specific platforms. The first is the Enterprise AI platform, which supports operational intelligence and workforce performance. The second is their Virtual Campus, or Virtual Compass, which handles scalable training, certification, and knowledge transfer.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you can see how this focus on precision directly impacts the displaced worker going through this initiative. The training infrastructure incorporates advanced LLM, large language model, capability ratings.
What does an advanced LLM capability rating actually mean for a student sitting in front of their computer trying to learn a new trade?
It means the training isn't just basic AI literacy. They aren't just learning how to type a prompt into a chatbot. The system is rating their capability to manage, audit, and deploy highly precise AI models that businesses actually require. Participants are transitioning from having redundant skill sets into mastering future-proof, highly relevant competencies that meet that 100% enterprise standard. They become the experts who ensure the AI doesn't hallucinate those financial numbers.
It's about giving them a serious, specialized technological edge. They become the indispensable human in the loop. When you step back and look at the whole picture presented in these sources, the main takeaway for you, the listener, is incredibly clear. The AI era is actively punishing the old model of task-based employment. The traditional path of renting out your specific skills to an employer is becoming more precarious by the day.
The downward curve of the K-shaped economy is very real. It's largely impacting those who remain dependent on legacy employment models, where they have no leverage and no ownership. The proposed survival strategy, according to EON AI Ventures, is a complete mindset shift toward economic proprietorship.
And that is exactly why this deep dive matters to you. Whether you're prepping for a career pivot, whether you're managing a team and watching these AI tools slowly automate your department's tasks, or if you're just trying to understand the changing economy around you, recognizing this shift is critical. You have to start thinking less like a worker trying to secure a job and more like a sovereign proprietor looking to build an enterprise or own a highly specialized AI-augmented skill set. Avoiding that downward slide requires reclaiming your agency in how you generate value.
The framework they've laid out, from the AI-driven Global Diploma Alliance to the structured pathways of the VAR network, offers a very concrete blueprint for how an individual might actually execute that pivot. But looking at the massive scale of this transition, this raises an important question. If this initiative successfully transitions millions of displaced workers into technology proprietors and local resellers building their own enterprises, who will be the consumers in this new localized economy? As the definition of worker vanishes, does a world composed entirely of proprietors lead to ultimate economic equality or an entirely new kind of hyper-competitive divide?
Wow. That is a fascinating thought to end on. It really makes you wonder what the broader economy actually looks like when everybody is the boss of their own AI-powered business. Will we all just be trading highly specialized enterprise services with each other? We want to thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into the Sovereign Human Initiative and the K-shaped economy. There's so much to digest here, so keep exploring, keep questioning how these massive shifts impact your own trajectory, and as always, stay curious.